The Chicago Bulls made a series of roster moves yesterday, including cutting Yuki Kawamura, signing and then waiving Mac McClung, and eventually landing on Trentyn Flowers. We're going to talk about what all that means, but before that, we're talking about why this season is a very big and important season for the Chicago Bulls and all the threads left hanging going into the season. We're going to do all that plus the mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And this season is a very big one for the Chicago Bulls, and not just because of the growth of Buzelis, not only just because of the pending contract extensions and situations for Ayo Dosunmu and Coby White. More so, it's big because this is the time where the Bulls can really make a serious natural pivot in their roster before locking in really anything. Now, I don't think the Bulls are going to come out of the season, even after potential, extensions or new contracts for Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu, with like the huge kind of contracts that's going to weigh them down pretty bigly. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think like this is going to be one of the last times, unless the Bulls just sign a lot of players to short-term deals, that they're going to have to make a serious kind of natural pivot with their roster, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by that. But the Bulls are in the midst of changing their direction. We talked over the last couple of episodes about how much has changed for the Bulls from the start of the 2023-24 season to where we are right now, just 2 years later. There's been quite a bit that's changed. The Bulls have 7 players under contract heading into next season. And the thing coming into this season is going to be evaluating for long-term fit. That's a direct quote from Arturis from Media Day. Is evaluating who on this roster is a long-term fit, not only together as players, but for the direction that they want to go as a team as well, right? And so with only having 7 players under contract, the Bulls have a natural place to pivot and then go in a different direction. And so when you're talking about Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins and all these players, Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White and stuff like that, like not only have the Bulls found a style of play, and I think that's what's been important for the Bulls to really establish the style of play that they want to have and get that locked in first, right? And because not only does it fit the players that already look like they're going to be on your roster going forward, it then allows you to look at what type of players you need and want on this team. And that's the evaluation that they have here, right? So Javon Carter, unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. That's a spot, right? He's making almost $7 million this year. That's a spot that can open up. If Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins, Nikola Vucevic, if these guys end up not being long-term fits, those are other things that they can look at, right? So in this season, especially with Modest looking like he's ready to make that next step, which he does look like he is ready to make that next step. If he does, that's going to be one of the things that you're like, okay, now what Modest has done in year 2 has given us, all right, this is what we need around where it looks like Modest is now going with his game, right? And so far, his ability to take players off the dribble, the added defensive ability, those type of things, how much of that defense is legit, right? And that we see during the regular season, because if a lot of it is, then that lessens how much of another point of attack defender you need, for example, depending on how much he shows into that. And that's what this season is about. Not that the Bulls aren't going to be trying to win. We all know this is a team that's going to try to grind out every single win, right? But I do think this, while you have a natural place to pivot, you still have to have something that has to attract outside players to your roster, right? And I've come down with this list of things that we can use to continually evaluate this team as the season goes on, right? One, and again, these are things that will tell us if the Bulls are really going to be able to attract free agents. Now, trades is different. Other players don't really have control over where they're traded to, but you could be on a player's preferred trade destination list if you do some of these things as well. So first, Money. Let's just be clear. Money is one of the you have to have the money to be able to attract players. Now, depending on where your franchise is at, sometimes you don't even have to have that, i.e., when we got DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo and Alex Caruso, we technically went into that offseason with no money, but we were able to make it happen, right? But first, you have to have the money. You have to have the flexibility to be able to even go after those free agents. So whether it's restricted free agents or whatever, where you can outbid a team or put a pressure on their current team, you have to have the money, the flexibility, and the space, right? Which the Bulls do have. They have tons of it. Over $100 million beneath the first apron to where they can get to work this offseason and trying to add things to this team. 2, you have to have a player that people want to come play with. Now, I don't know if we can say that Modest Buzelis is going to be that yet. I do think, of course, he can eventually turn into that type of player. But in fairness, I don't know if he's there yet. Now, we can reevaluate this question at the end of the season and then make that determination. Is Modest one of those young, promising players, the up-and-coming players that players around the league, that free agents around the league look at and say, I want to go play with Modest. I want to play with that kid. Where that kid's going, I want to be there. I want to go play with that guy. And when you have restricted free agents or you have players coming out of their second contracts that are still fairly young and they look at a player like Modest and they say, hey, that's the guy I want to go play with. Can Josh Giddey be one of those guys? Can Kobe, Io, can anybody on the roster be one of those guys that somebody around the league looks at and say, that's who I want to play with? Find me a way. They tell their agent, find me a way to get me to Chicago. I want to play with Modest. And like I said, I don't think the Bulls have that yet, but we'll see how this season goes on. Because with the way that Modest and the efficiency that he played with in preseason, I can see somebody going and saying, I want to play with Modest Buzelis. But again, we'll see that. A trusted front office is the other thing. And we all know the Bulls do not have that. And that is a detriment to this team, right? The Bulls don't have a front office right now that players around the league are going to look at and say, I know that front office is going to do whatever it takes to put us in a winning position, and they're going to do it continually. We don't have that. Like that reputation isn't there. If anything, the reputation is maybe that it's like, well, hey, they don't get rid of their guys. If we go there, they're going to take care of us financially. Maybe it's that, right? But depending on the state of your franchise, if you have a front office that has the reputation of getting shit done and finding a way to field a team that's going to be competitive year in and year out, that can help you attract players as well. But the Bulls have not done that. So we're not even finna gas that. Then the last thing, I think you have to have a coach that players either believe in or they want to come play for. And this is the interesting part of it, right? Is because I don't know if players outside of who've either already played for Billy Donovan or that already are on this team have that view of Billy Donovan. Now, I know for a fact the players that are on this team have that view. Like you hear them talk, they have that view of Billy Donovan. They trust Billy Donovan. These players play for Billy Donovan. They do. And I know Winton's already getting to typing because I mentioned his favorite person in the world, Billy Donovan, and it's going to trigger him. But look at the way that the players on this team have talked about Billy. Look at the way that players who just came to the team at the trade deadline last year have talked about Billy, right? So I do think that the players on this team currently look at Billy and they say, hey, that's our coach. I don't know if Billy has that reputation outside of that. Now, for what it's worth, we only have known one player to really have a bad relationship with Billy Donovan. That's been Zach LaVine. So maybe that is a more of a thing than people, and I know Bulls fans, we don't necessarily universally love Billy Donovan, but, is he one of those coaches that people look at, or is it a combination of those things? But that's really what I look at and say, those are the things that are going to make you and of course, if you have team success, that's the ultimate thing, right? If you're a team that is having a certain level of team success, players are going to want to come play with you because they want to win basketball games. They want a chance to compete for something meaningfully. And the Bulls haven't really had that level of success. Now, I do think, it's funny when you look at it. It's many people, point out things like, oh my God, look what the Bulls have done over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, we have more wins than the Detroit Pistons and Orlando Magic. And look at where they are. And that's just how quickly things can turn around for a team once you start finding your path and have your player that you're building around, right? And that's more what I'm using that to highlight with. We'll see. And I think that these are all questions that the Bulls need to be focused on and trying to find the answers to as we get through this season. But you guys can let me know how you feel on all of that down below. With that said, let's get into the next topic before we get into the mailbag. The Bulls made a series of moves yesterday. They first we got announced that they signed Mac McClung. And then about 3 hours later, it got announced that they not only waived Mac McClung, but they also waived Yuki Kawamura. And that alone, like Yuki, apparently it's a serious medical thing going on with Yuki. It's involved in his lower leg. And I just want to say that the mindset that puts me in is it a blood clot? Because that to end his season and for it to be said that it's something that that is pretty serious, right? Not just with basketball, but with his life. It makes you think like, is it blood clots, right? Now that's the speculative part. The part that we do know is that Yuki was waived. His season's over with. It's a pretty serious injury that caused it. The Bulls then signed Mac McClung. They immediately waived him because now when he signs his G League contract, it gets him an extra 50K on his deal. And then they turned around and signed Trentyn Flowers to a two-way contract. Now, Trentyn Flowers is going to be somebody that a lot of people don't know. But the more I dug into who this kid was, I actually think that this is a pretty solid move for what it is. For a two-way player of a player that's 20 years old, Trentyn Flowers was a former 5-star recruit for Louisville before he made the decision to forego college, to go over to the NBL, to then chase his dream to eventually make it back into the NBA. He then did come to the NBA last season. He played for the San Diego Clippers, which is the G League team for the Los Angeles Clippers, where he averaged over 20 points per game. Trentyn Flowers, if you look at his G League stats, again, this is a 20-year-old two-way player. 20 points per game on 32 minutes per game. He shot the ball 47% from the field, 37% from three, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a half a steal, and a half a block per game. I tell you what, for the Bulls and what the G League is meant to be, a developmental league, I'm not mad at them taking a shot at a kid like this. Like a former 5-star recruit to Louisville. Like it's not like Louisville is like, and he was their recruit that year. That's how much they really wanted to put into him, is because he was their recruit that year. He'll turn 21 in March, which is close to the end of the season, right? This is a kid that really has some upside. Now, I do want to put that into perspective. We've had other players with upside in the G League that never have made an impact in the NBA level, so that doesn't mean that that's what he's going to do, but it's giving yourself a shot at that. And I, for one, am happy that Trentyn Flowers is in the Chicago Windy City Bulls uniform. And, for this to see now him, Lachlan Albrick, right? Still know Essengate is going to be down there some. I'm still excited to see what these guys develop into for this team. And I guess we'll monitor that and be reviewing it here. But that's what the moves all ended up. Mac McClung's going to be on the Windy City Bulls. He's going to come in, step into Yuki's position at being that point guard. We got now Trentyn Flowers as another player on a two-way contract. And we'll see how this all shakes out. So let me know what you guys think on all of that down below. With that said, it is Saturday. That means it is Mailbag Day here at Chicago Bulls Central. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails. This one's from Jeremy.
Hey, what up? It's Jeremy from Flint, Michigan. Want to give you props. Love the show. I've been a daily listener since the moment I found your show. I want to, one, say that I couldn't agree more with you telling folks that they need to maybe relax and settle down a little bit regarding Matas. I think everybody sees the star potential and what could be. However, it is year number 2. Kid just turned 21, and there's a lot to improve upon. So I think sometimes we as Bulls fans are so desperate for somebody to be that guy or to be the next star that we can grab onto that sometimes we place some unfair expectations on people. And I think it would just be calm to recognize that he has the potential to get there, and it might not happen overnight, but just to be mindful and to relax a little bit. Secondly, I appreciate the show because I find you, of all the Chicago Bulls content creators, to be one that, it is at least a lot more objective than the others. I think a lot of them, if you listen to them, they echo the same stuff that they hear. They watch a Casey Johnson piece or they read a Chris Mannix piece, and then they just regurgitate the same stuff. And they fall into the repetition of no matter what happens or what has been done, they just repeat it. So, for instance, like CHGO, the guy who tosses the hat, his whole gimmick is no matter what P. Will does, he's going to crap on. no matter what. So I do appreciate, being able to listen to your pod and hear you have some fresh takes, or even if I don't agree, can tell that it's your thoughts and not just echoing something that somebody else says. And lastly, at the end of the day, Sam, I want all players to be successful, even if I don't think they're a part of the future. Whether it's playing well and then that contract becoming a positive asset, or at least increasing trade value for somebody else to take on. I don't hate on any of the Bulls, man. I want the team to win, and so I'm looking forward to an incredible year. Keep up the great work, and have a good day.
Modest has all the potential in the world. All the potential in the world. His preseason was awesome, right? But like I said, let's just practice. Let's pump our brakes a little bit, because the regular season is going to be a lot different. Now, there are some things to say, like he could play more minutes, he can get more shots, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just saying, let's not set an expectation for him to necessarily do that. If he does it, and we'll know in the first month of the season, great, right? And I think that like Modest is a bright spot for this team. There's no doubt about that. And he's one of the few reasons that you can say that this Bulls team has a future that they're building towards. So, I just like to practice patience until we see it. Now, if Modest comes in and he's averaging 16, 17 to start, and that's another thing, like even if he does start hot, it can ebb and flow, right? So we'll see how it goes for Modest. And I have zero doubts that he's going to turn into a stud for the Bulls. He's already been that, right? I'm just saying, for the people that are like, oh, Modest is going to average 18 to 20 points per game and let's chill on that. Let's wait and see, right? Now, as far as thank you for the love for the show, I have my blind spots, as every content creator does, right? But I think the thing that I try to do differently here is I always try to offer a counterpoint to whatever point that I make. And I think that has kept me honest, is that I hold myself accountable to that. I like to look at and say, hey, this is my take, but hey, this is where my take could possibly be wrong. This is the other side of that argument. And hopefully it helps you guys enjoy the show, especially as a solo content creator, right? So there you go on that one. But thank you so much for enjoying the show. Thank you for listening every day, and hopefully we keep earning your listen. All right, let's get into the next one, man. This one is from Larry.
What up, Hayes? Larry out of Mobile. I believe it's pretty short. I think I'm seeing what you're seeing on with Modest. And I understand why you're being, cautiously optimistic is what I'm seeing here. If this is real, which it looks like it is, this season is a whole different story. I mean, not this season in particular, but where this season can lead. Because if Modest is a guy, or if he's a second guy, that attracts other guys. And then we're on our way to actually being something. Now, I know it's still early, and we're going to get a chance to see this with Kobe going to start slow. Somebody's going to have to do the scoring, and Modest looks like he's going to be the guy that's going to get an opportunity to be the leading person to start the season, with Kobe getting ramped up and getting started up early in the season. But if he's a guy, man, the excitement level goes up way different than if he wasn't. But I didn't think I was going to see it until year 3, and it may not happen until year 3. But if it's happened a little early, man, the excitement level is going to be great. We're in for a treat. All right, appreciate it, Ace.
I think Modest's chemistry with Josh Giddey is going to be the thing to watch at the start of the season, because like you said, even if Kobe is ready to go at the start of the season, there may be a ramp-up period, right? There may be a period of him adjusting, getting in rhythm. And so the chemistry that you have with Josh Giddey and Modest Buzelis at that time, as well as like can Vooch step back up and be kind of a more consistent double-double Vooch, is going to help us kind of, cover the gap of that, right? And who knows? Maybe Kobe's going to, we already know that he was getting shots up in training camp, stuff like that. It wasn't like he was on the sideline the whole time. Maybe he comes out the gate and he's Kobe, right? But if not, I think that the growth that we've seen from Modest, Josh Giddey's going to have to step up as well. Ayo Dosunmu, the way he's attacked preseason, those are all going to be really important to see what the Bulls can do at the start of the season if Kobe has to have that ramp-up period. But, we'll cover it. It's a team. Next man up, and, we'll see what happens, Larry. But great voicemail. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from our brother Corn.
It's the good word, King Drip. It's your brother Corn, man. I'm out and about, so excuse the fucking traffic because your brother's outside. I had to leave this one, you know what I'm saying? your brother birthday is today. It's Friday. So all this shit, McClungan getting signed, Yuki getting motherfucking waived and all this other shit. Like, God damn, what the fuck? You know, all on your brother's birthday, man. But anyway, man, this is just me, man. Call it in, man. Like I said, man, wanted to show appreciation to my brother. Want to show appreciation to C-Red Nation, man, for letting me on, man, putting me on, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, like I said, man, you my brother from another mother, man. You Cognac Kings, man. Hey, man, great admiration for all of y'all, man. I really love y'all Kings, bro. So, now let's talk about some basketball. We got all that sentimental bullshit out the way, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Happy birthdays in the chat. Yo, you know what? Because it's my daddy's birthday, you know what I'm saying, on Saturday. So happy birthday, happy heavenly birthday to my father. So you know what I'm saying? We go celebrate this whole motherfucking weekend. We gonna be lit in this bitch. But let's talk about our Bulls preseason, man. Hey, man. Hey, Marches, Buzelis. Bring your young ass over here, young hog. I knew it, young hog. I knew it that you was gonna be. Now I know this just preseason. I know again. I know it's just motherfucking preseason, but I'm gonna say it again. I'm telling you, legend. It looks. I'm telling you, Drip. It looks like we want to make that step. That sophomore slump. I don't think it's gonna happen with him. That sophomore slump, I don't think it's going to happen with this young one. Hey, man, I am excited. I am excited to see what Kobe does. And, of course, the other guy who I want to really speak on, but I ain't got enough time, so I'm going to call back on Io DeSumo, that he deserves a whole nother, because those are the two guys that I said I wanted to be those guys this season. And God damn it, Modest Buzelis, you're going to be that motherfucker. I see it. Y'all know me, man. Y'all know how much I'm a little bit of prisoner. And goddamn, it's my birthday. I'm lit. I'm turned up in this bitch. Hey, man. 38 years old, man. Hey, we ain't getting old, man. We just reaching our motherfucking prime. Motherfuckers say we getting old, man. Nah, we getting in our prime. You feel me? We ain't on none of that. Hey, man. Love you, kid. Blessings.
Happy belated, bro. Hopefully no sophomore slump for Modest. And sophomore slumps can present itself in a lot of different ways. Like, Modest may start off the season on fire. He may have a little bit of a downturn towards the middle of the season. Maybe that lasts for a little while, and then maybe he picks it back up after the All-Star break, right? There's a lot of versions of sophomore slumps. It doesn't necessarily mean his entire second year is going to be all bad, right? But it seems like he's doing the work. He's contacted the right people. He's put himself in the right situations to try to avoid what a sophomore slump could look like. And if he does that, great, right? That's what you want, is you want to avoid that sophomore slump if you can. And let's hope that Modest Buzelis can do that, because Modest looks primed. He looks ready to go. And like you said, you're going to call and leave. Io was the second best player in preseason for the Chicago Bulls. So all those things being legitimate, yeah, you want to have those things locked in. So, but yeah, I think Modest is going to make an impact. And even if his offense is off or the defense is off, he has other things and other ways that he can impact the game. So we'll see what happens there with Modest. All right, let's get into that. And first of all, you sound litty, my bro. I'm glad that you had a great birthday, Corn, man. And praises to you and your father, bro, as well. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? It's Shay. Look, yo, I'm not saying that this will happen, but if Kobe White somehow has a bad season, no, I'm not even gonna start off. Okay, there's a good chance that Kobe White might not be ready to start the season. Okay, so I was thinking, instead of moving Isaac Okoro to the bench, how about we do we should do a lineup of Giddey, Ayo, and Isaac Okoro and Montes Buzelis and Nikola Vucevic. Another thing I wanted to say was, now, I know you're not too high on Patrick Williams. I've lost faith in him at this point too. But did you see how he was cutting and moving in the game against the Milwaukee Bucks? That's what he should be doing much more often instead of trying to dribble around. And honestly, when you have players like Modest and Trey Jones that will find you, I would suggest you do that. You do that. Look, I know I'm beating a dead horse. I know what you're going to say. Oh, don't tell us me, tell the people. But look at how that one play where Patrick Williams moved and he got that easy dunk. If he would just move, or when somebody gets a rebound, he gets out on the break, he will score a lot more easier. Look, and I know because people like him, Isaac Okoro, let's face it, they're not good scorers. They're not. They're known for defensive players, and they'll give you a 20, maybe 40-point game on a lucky day or so. But one thing about both of them, if they would just move without the basketball, they would be very effective. Look at a lot of players that we've had in the past who weren't great offensive players, but they moved without the basketball. They didn't just stand on the perimeter and shoot, but they also were very active on the offensive end. Keyword, moving without the basketball. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
Starting Ayo Dosunmu if Kobe's not ready for the season. Like I said, I've kind of kept the same mindset that I think the Bulls want Ayo to just settle into that 6-man role. But at the same time, if you need that two-way punch, Ayo's right there, right? I don't think you can do either way on it. I think if they want to start Ayo because Kobe's starting off slow or maybe he's not healthy to start the season, cool. Ayo looks like he's ready for it. So let Ayo do it, and let's wait. Especially with slow starts, if you're worried about your bench rotation, but your slow start is what's killing you, you want to try to do some things to avoid that, right? Now, as far as Shay, you got to stop saying, I know what you're going to. Every time you say, I know what you're going to say, or I know what Bulls, you're always wrong. You're always wrong. Just say your take. Now, I'll say this. If P. Will keeps being active, right, and not passing up open shots, moving without the ball, and I'll say this, the whole team needs to move without the ball. Everybody on the squad needs to move without the ball. That needs to be something that is tantamount to success. Everybody move without the ball. But if P. Will can do those things, man, yeah, there's going to be a role here for him. I've said it before. I don't have the biggest expectations for P. Will. I'm past that part of my life. But if P. Will shows it, then great. Like, I'm not going to act like P. Will still doesn't have potential. He does, but all potential is not realized. And we got to see if P. Will is going to be one of those guys that we look back and say, he had so much potential, but it never really turned into anything. Or can he be one of those guys that say, listen, he didn't live up to being drafted 4th overall, but he's a pretty damn solid role player for X team. That's the next question for P. Will. And we'll see what's going to have to be there. But moving without the ball, you hit the nail on the head. Well, most of these players need to do that, Modest included. Ayo does do it, right? But I think that can help so much as far as finding easy shots for some of these players. So, all right, let's get into this last one, man. This one's from Jet, but it's not a voicemail. For those that don't know, Chicago Bulls Central does have a Discord. It is part of the Chi-Town Sports Central overall Discord. So go over there. Links in the description. And I do have a mailbag room in there where you can leave your mailbag questions. And so Brandon L. Jet, by the way, Jet, you're the OG here. You should be leaving a voicemail. Don't nobody care if you don't like your voice, leave a voicemail. But he did say this. Hey, Hayes, given these are contract years for Kobe and Ayo, as long as Herter, Vooch, and Zach Collins, who do you see re-signing with the Bulls? I know Kobe will demand north of $30 million per season, and Ayo, if he stays healthy, will command north of $20 million per season. I know Vooch, Zach, and Herter salaries falling off the cap will that be enough to sign both players to solidify their young core? Well, great question. So the Chicago Bulls right now, per projections, right, because even the cap for next year is right now a projection. The Bulls are slated to have $115 million beneath the tax. They are slated to have $122 million beneath the first tax apron. So that's the space that the Bulls have to play with. So even if you sign Kobe for $30 million and Ayo for $20 million, that still leaves you almost over $60 million to play with. And at that point, you have 9 players on your roster. You have a first-round pick, so that's going to come off the board as well at a fairly cost-effective contract also. So you have those things. So, the Bulls have more than enough money to keep everybody, even at the projections that you laid out. Now, when it comes to Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, right, those guys are on $18 million contracts now. They signed those contracts when they were projected to be starters for other teams. So can you get them at between $10 and $12 million, right? And if you do, let's say you get both of them between $10 and $12 million, then that now puts you at what was the number? About $38-ish million that you're still dealing with. And then at that point, you'd have 11 players on your roster. Well, 13 players on your 12 players on your roster, including your draft pick, right? So that's a pretty solid roster and rotation there. You still got Isaac Kuro's on the contract next year, Julian Phillips still on the contract next year. So then you can make a decision on Dalen Terry. You can sign a reasonable contract for Dalen Terry. Boom. Now that brings you to 13. Now you're still looking at roughly $20 to $25 million plus your mid-level exception to then go out and find 2 more players, right? So the Bulls have cap space to get it done and filled out a roster. Now, the question becomes about how many of these players do you want to keep on your roster that are currently here? And that question kind of determines some things, right? So we shall see what this Bulls team does. But the Bulls have some flexibility to work with some stuff. So we'll see, right? And, they could forego, re-signing a couple of those players to go after Walker Kessler, give him a $30 million offer sheet. So the Bulls have really good space right now to get some things done. Or not right now, in the offseason. The question just becomes about how much do you see this season and how much does that make you feel strong enough about putting that money out there? And we shall see. But great question, Jet. All guys, go and join the Discord as well for some great Bulls conversations going on in there. We're going to try to get that started up a little bit more. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like in every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you ready for again, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.